I'd like to introduce now Michael Nugent, who's the Technical Director of IIRC, and he's going to present the framework to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne, and welcome everybody. What I propose to talk about now is a little bit of a run over the framework, what you can expect to see when you open the cover of the consultation draft itself. I'll start with a little bit of a description from the framework, but essentially about what integrated reporting is. I will talk to the key features of the consultation draft and then invite you to participate in the consultation draft and tell you ways in which you can do that. So what is IR? IR is a process. It's a process about communication. In particular, communication of value creation over time in the short, medium and long term. The most visible manifestation of that communication is a periodic integrated report. And the periodic integrated report itself is a concise communication about how an organisation's strategy, governance, performance and prospects in the context of its external environment leads to the creation of value over the short, the medium and importantly the long term. An integrated report is prepared in accordance with the framework once finalised. An integrated report's primary audience under this framework is investors, providers of financial capital. Having said that, as the primary audience, because of the nature of integrated reporting and the breadth and depth of the information in an integrated report will be of immense benefit, one would hope, and certainly has been the case to date, will be of immense benefit to other stakeholders as well. Employees, business partners, suppliers, customers, legislators, regulators, the whole array of stakeholders in an organisation will benefit from integrated reporting. A way to think of integrated reporting, perhaps bringing it back to our current reporting landscape, is if you think of the financial report, the mainstay of the pillar of reporting to date. And then there's other forms of reporting and other forms of communication, sustainability reports, governance and remuneration reports, management commentary or management discussion and analysis. There's investor analyst calls. There is investor relations websites. There's a whole range of communications in addition to financial reporting. Integrated reporting seeks to draw from this range of communications information about strategy, governance, performance and prospects, to bring them together, to combine them, to connect them, to integrate them, so that we get a concise communication about value creation. Integrated reporting is all about concise communication about value creating. So, why are we doing this? What's the objective? Well, I've just mentioned different forms of reporting. Integrated reporting hopes to be a catalyst to create a more coherent landscape, a more efficient and effective landscape. Russell talked about the volume of reporting increasing in various forms. Hopefully, IR will be a catalyst to bring about this more coherence in the whole reporting landscape. We've talked about the capitals briefly. I'll talk about them a little bit more in a minute. But because we're talking about a broader range of capitals, hopefully this will lead to enhanced accountability and stewardship for those capitals beyond short-term financial capital accountability and stewardship. It will, being aimed primarily at investors, primarily providers of financial capital, it will inform the allocation of financial capital. And of course that's important to us all. Okay, it's important to the investors obviously, but how resources are allocated across our economy will really determine our future. If resources are allocated, financial resources are allocated to sustainable businesses that can create value over the longer term, then we are all better off. And finally, integrated reporting seeks to support integrated thinking. Any form of reporting is typically the end of a pipeline. So what goes into that pipeline is integrated thinking. It's the thinking inside an organisation that pops out in the report at the end. And if we can enhance and support integrated thinking, breaking down the silos within, broader thinking about different capitals within organisations, we'll get better more value-driven, long-term creation of value decisions from within the organisation, as well as the allocation of resources between organisations. This diagram is in the framework. I think it's quite a simple diagram, but it's quite helpful in understanding what integrated reporting is all about. Integrated reporting is about reporting by an organisation, the grey box in the middle. This organisation, any organisation, seeks to create value, but it doesn't do so in isolation. It can't do so in isolation. It does so in the context of its environment, its external environment, the diagonal green lines. The external environment includes the legal framework it operates in, it includes environmental concerns, it includes changes in technology, demographic shifts, societal expectations, the whole gamut of the external environment impact upon how an organisation creates value. And the organisation doesn't create value of its own accord. It draws in, from the left-hand side of the diagram, it draws in a range of capitals that it uses to create value and processes them through the organisation, and in the process of doing that changes those capitals so that when they pop out on the left-hand side, they are increased, decreased, transformed in some way that enhances or diminishes potentially their value over time. So this idea of an organisation creating value in the context of an external environment by using and affecting capitals is really what integrated reporting is about. Okay, the core features of the consultation draft. If you'd open up, you would see there's sort of four parts. Inside the front cover, a very brief rundown of the IIRC and of the process used to develop the framework. Then there's a couple of pages of a request for comment and questions, consultation questions. And then we're into the main part. I'll come back to those two. We're into the main part of the consultation draft, being the draft framework itself, which is the bulk of the consultation document. And the purpose of the framework is, I guess it's similar to accounting standards, if you like. Accounting standards are the criteria according to which financial reports are prepared. So it explains, accounting standards explain what financial reporting is, but it provides the criteria for the preparation of financial statements. In the same way, the framework explains what integrated reporting is and provides the criteria for the preparation of an integrated report. In the same way that accounting standards don't try and set the benchmark for financial performance, the integrated reporting, and it's an important point, some people get this confused, the integrated reporting framework does not try and set the benchmark for strategy or for business models or for performance. What it does is provide the criteria so that an integrated report includes the right information for the reader of that report to make their own assessments about the worth or otherwise of the strategy, the business model, future prospects, etc. There are three core features in the framework. The first one is a series of fundamental concepts. The second is guiding principles, and the third content elements. So just looking at the fundamental concepts, there's an introduction in there that talks about the octopus diagram, as it's fondly known, that I had up a second ago. There's a section on the capitals, there's a section on the business model, and there's a section on value creation. I'll just look very briefly at each of those. At the heart of reporting over time has been, probably ever since the double entry bookkeeping system was invented, has been accounting for financial capital and manufactured capital. You know, the funds available to an organisation have always been accounted for. The plant and equipment that an organisation owns has always been accounted for. We're expanding that notion a little bit. Even when we talk about manufactured capital, we've expanded the notion a little bit. It includes consideration of infrastructure. So it's not only the capitals that are owned by the organisation, but things like the infrastructure upon which an organisation depends to create value are included in the consideration of putting together an integrated report. So we have financial and manufactured capital. I think we probably pretty well understand those. The next layer of capitals is to do with the human element, harking back to Anne's comments. And the human element incorporates intellectual capital, social and relationship capital, and human capital itself. I won't drill down into each of these, but I think reasonably self-descriptive. And there's of course more information in the document itself. And the final layer of capitals is the environment. It's the natural capital in which all of the other capitals sit. and all of the other capitals depend. So there's these layers of capital inherent in the framework. The business model was the next fundamental concept, and I'm not going to try and explain this, the expanded octopus diagram. I just want to, it's in there, there is an explanation of it in there. I just put it up to show you that at the heart of any organisation is its business model, the blue strip across the middle. It's the business model that processes the inputs, processes the capitals from one side, turns them into the capitals output on the other, or outcome on the other side. The way we've decided to define a business model relates to its inputs, its business activities, its outputs, products, services, waste, byproducts, and its outcomes, its effect on the capitals. It's where the value is created or destroyed. The other section in the fundamental concepts was about value and creation of value. Creation of value really is at the heart of integrated reporting. Integrated reporting explains how an organisation creates value over time. And it can do that best by serving the interests of and working with all key stakeholders. In doing that, hopefully that will generate financial returns for investors, but it'll have other effects. It'll have other effects on other capitals and other effects on other stakeholders. So therefore, those other effects are captured in the capitals. They will increase, decrease or transform the capitals. That's where value is captured. That's where value resides. It's embedded in the capitals. So therefore, to capture that whole story value creation, integrated reporting needs to deal with a wide range of interactions, activities, relationships, causes and effects. It's not a simple matter, as I think, harking back again to Anne's description, we live in a complex world. We need to reflect that complexity. An important point to make is that integrated reporting is about providing information. It's not about trying to value the business per se. So an integrated report won't try and quantify and monetize all of these capitals. Please don't go away with that thought. There may well be an element of that. Some people may choose to do that. It may be a helpful tool, but it's not what integrated reporting is about. Integrated reporting is about providing the information so that the readers of an integrated report can assess value and the capacity to create value for themselves. It's not about trying to measure the value per se. Okay, the other core features were guiding principles, and I think these guiding principles really are the principles that permeate all information in an integrated report. If you look down the right-hand side, 4, 5 and 6, they're probably pretty familiar, particularly if you have accountants in the room. Materiality, of course, a report should show that which is material. We have an emphasis on a report being concise. We're not trying to increase volume, trying to increase the quality of the information. Should be reliable, it should be complete, consistent, comparable. The left-hand side is a little bit more intrinsic and perhaps unique to integrated reporting. Again, I won't go into detail on any of these. The one I will point out, though, is connectivity of information, because I think that really is quite unique to integrated reporting. Integrated, the whole idea of integration is connectivity of information. Connectivity between the capitals. Connectivity between the past, the present and the future. Connectivity between information used by management and information reported to the outside world. Connectivity between information reported by the organisation and other information that's out there. Technology obviously has a big role to play in this form of connectivity. But it's about analysing and understanding all the things that impact upon value and making those connections apparent. And the final core feature is the content elements, and they're categories of information. The content elements are categories of information that an integrated report should include. Organisational overview and environment and external environment, governance, opportunities and risks, strategy and resource allocation, business model, performance, future outlook, categories of information. It's not a checklist. Going back to Russell's view, it's not a checklist of information. It doesn't say include this, 2, 3, 4 points. What it does is it has a question on each of these categories of information. And the idea is that question is answered throughout the integrated report. So the question for governance, for instance, is how does your governance structure support and contribute to the ability of the organisation to create value in the short, medium and long term? So it's a series of questions. Together, answering these questions will emerge a unique value creation story. An organisation's own unique value creation story emerges through answering these questions. If the connections are made apparent between these pieces of information, you'll find that they're not in a set sequence, and they're certainly not isolated standalone sections. So you would not expect to pick up an integrated report and see Section 1, Organisational Overview, External Environment, Section 2, Governance. No, the idea is to connect these pieces of information in a meaningful way, and again, I'll use the phrase to tell the unique value creation story of an organisation. The other sections, when you open the book, there's a summary of requirements at the front of the book, at the front of the draft framework. Sorry, there is, I think, 21 paragraphs that include sort of must-dos. For instance, each of the guiding principles has a must-do paragraph. Each of the questions in the content elements is a must-do paragraph. So they're called requirements, and they're sort of black-lettered throughout the document. There's a summary at the front. Really, it's a communication device so that people can look at that summary and see overall what it is they're being required to do from the rest of the document. There's an overview that explains what integrated reporting is. There is a chapter at the end, chapter 5, that has lots of helpful guidance on various aspects, things like how frequently and in what form an integrated report might appear. Aggregation and disaggregation of information. One of the most important sections there, I think, is about reporting boundary. How far out does the organisation's interactions, or how far out does the organisation's interactions have to be accounted for? One can't, one causes ripples throughout the world. You can't account for everything. So how do you draw the boundaries around the outcomes that are attributable back to you as an organisation? So there's a number of important, helpful guidance points in there. There's also a glossary of terms and some appendices. Okay, so I mean that was really a very quick run through of what the framework is. How can you participate? I assume you're here because you want to participate in the future of corporate reporting, and that's what integrated reporting is. The consultation period, this draft will be out there from today until the 15th of July, so it's out there for a 90-day comment period. What we really want you to do is read and study the framework, critique it, and feed back to us. The framework's available in a range of languages, all the UN languages plus some more. Unfortunately, Russell mentioned the time frame. We're trying to get this out and finalised in initial form by the end of December, and therefore we won't have the capacity to translate back any feedback we get. So we do ask that feedback we get be in English. However, for the communication purposes, we do have the framework out there, or the draft out there in a range of languages. So responses within that 90-day comment period, there's a downloadable form on our website, and we do ask that you use that form. You can download it, work on it, and then upload it again when you think it's ready. It will help us with the collation process if you do use that form. We'd ask for comments on all aspects of the framework. There's a series of questions at the front. There's some specific questions and there's some catch-all questions. So hopefully you'll be able to find a place for any comment you have. If you can't find a place, add a comment. We really do want comments on anything that you feel is worthy of commenting on. And as I think Russell said, it's a genuine consultation. We really do want to hear what you think of this. You may choose to comment on all questions. You may choose to just focus in on one or two questions. Up to you, where you think the important parts of your contribution can be made. What I would ask, though, is that if you agree with something in the framework, that you say so. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of comment periods like this, and often people tell us all the things they think are wrong, and that's great and that's helpful. But if all we hear is what's wrong, and we don't know what's right, then we get a very skewed view. So please, if you do agree with something, don't just be silent. Just say, oh, yes, that's good, agree with that, and move on to the critical parts. Who do we want to hear from? Well, we want to hear from everyone. Everyone who's got a stake in corporate reporting. Investors, businesses, regulators, standard setters, policy makers, civil society, academics, assurance providers, anyone, and that is virtually everyone, has a stake in corporate reporting, in the future of corporate reporting. You may feel that you want to contribute in a more full way than simply responding to us. You may want to be an active contributor and put a link on your website, for instance, to the consultation draft. You may want to put out your own media release about how you are interpreting integrated reporting, what your response is. You may want to put an article, and it'd be great if you put an article in your newsletters, internal or industry newsletters. That would be very helpful. You may want to organise an event. Perhaps an industry event, a regional event, an event within your own organisation. IIRC, if you contact us, can help with all of these things. So please feel free to contact us at IIRC. Finally, my last slide is the framework. This is a draft. Oops. This is a draft framework. It will, what's released in December will be the initial version. It will continue to evolve after that in years to come. But this is a draft. What comes out in December will be different from what's in this draft, and it'll be different because of the contributions we receive from people, the feedback we receive, what they like, what they don't like. It will change. So I really do implore you to accept the invitation to play your role in the future of corporate reporting by responding to the consultation draft.